What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Autotrader EchoPark Automotive 500 Top 5 DFS Picks video for Sunday, September 25th at Texas Motor Speedway. As always, I am your host, Chris Pennell. You can find me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16, and this video is presented by Prize Picks. In today's video, we are going over general track strategy, how to approach the slate from a DFS perspective, and my top 5 favorite plays on the slate. This video is being recorded after practice and qualifying, so we do have the most up-to-date information out there, so won't have to do any post analysis on this, but if you do have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below and I'll try to get back to you. But as far as how we should approach the slate from a DFS perspective, we normally have only 267 laps at these mile-and-a-half tracks, but at Texas, we are running 500 miles in the playoffs, which equates to 334 laps, meaning nearly 240 dominator points available to us. So while dominator points were always a little bit important at the intermediate tracks, it's a little bit more important this weekend as we cannot miss out on some of these dominator points. But we do have many hybrid dominators that are starting mid-pack or closer to the back, which could also be dominators that you can also add into that group. So for Texas, we're basically using mile-and-a-half intermediate track roster construction where you're looking at 2 to 3 DOMs. But with the extra amount of laps here, you can maybe put more of a focus on the 3 side rather than 1 to 2. And getting into the picks, we'll start with number 5, and we have Brad Keselowski, who absolutely crushed it last week. Honestly, almost won the race, but he comes in at $6,800 on DraftKings, only $6,000 over on FanDuel. I think he's a better play over on DraftKings because of the dominator upside, but he qualified on the pole, which puts him in a good position to be able to lead some laps early on. And I wouldn't say he just lucked out getting into the pole with a fast lap. Obviously, that kind of would happen, but he was also pretty fast in practice as well, posting top 10 speeds and also top 5 speeds in the 5-lap run in practice. This is a very long stage one. If he can lead 30 to 40 laps here and finish inside the top 15, that's obviously not an elite day, but at his price point, that is fine. And if he can get us close to 40 fantasy points, that's going to make him one of the better cheap plays on the slate. And also his ceiling's a lot higher than others as well, but the floor is a little bit lower. And coming in at number 4, it's a favorite driver of mine to use. He's actually been in some of the most optimal lineups this year overall out of all drivers, but it's Eric Jones, $8,000 on DraftKings, only $7,500 over on FanDuel. And it's looking like he's going to be a pretty popular place differential play this weekend, starting all the way back in 27th, despite posting some pretty strong practice speeds, 5th in the 1-lap and 10th in the 5-lap. And we've seen at the bigger tracks this year where Eric Jones does usually bring a lot of speed in his race car. Now, he can be a bit hit or miss sometimes, but he did finish 8th in Michigan, which I feel like should have at least some similarities to what we'll see at Texas this weekend, 14th at Charlotte, 3rd at Auto Club, and the rest of the finishes are a little bit poor due to issues, but he certainly is going to have top 10, top 15 upside. He just won a race a couple of weeks ago, so we know the speed's there, and for where he is priced and where he's starting, it makes him a pretty safe play overall. And moving on to number 3, it's a driver I had my eye on all weekend. I thought he would qualify a lot higher, but fortunately enough, or maybe unfortunately, depending on how you wanted his ownership to be, we have Alex Bowman at $8,400 and $8,000 on FanDuel, and he's starting in 17th, and he's been one of the more consistent driver at the intermediate tracks this year, finishing 4th at Kansas, where he had a very fast car, actually dominated in that race. It was in the optimal lineup. He was top 10 in Michigan, top 10 at Charlotte, top 10 at Kansas again, 1st at Las Vegas early in the season, then had a bit of a rough race to start the year at Auto Club, but outside of that, he's been overall very, very consistent, had a very fast car in practice, 3rd in the 1-lap, 2nd in the 5, and 2nd in the 10-lap. So for where he's starting, he's kind of in a weird spot where he's not a major place differential play. He's not starting close enough to the front to really view him as a dominator. So I'm hoping people kind of overlook him, especially with all the other drivers starting in this price range like Eric Jones, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick. So if he's going to go a bit overlooked because of that, I want to be overweight on Alex Bowman. He's one of my favorite drivers to target on this slate. And moving on to number 2, we're going with the Candyman, Kyle Busch, $10,000 on DraftKings, $12,000 on FanDuel. The Candyman, not much longer as the contract is expiring this year, and he's moving on to RCR, but he becomes a pretty good DFS play this weekend, starting in 18th. He's going to be one of the favorites to win this race, in my opinion. He has been overall very strong at these track types, although the past 2 weekends has had some engine issues. I'd be very shocked if that happens 3 times in a row, but if it does, well, I guess it does, but I really would not expect that to happen. But he was 15th in the 1-lap in practice, 12th in the 5-lap. Wasn't anything over impressive, but he's pretty good at Texas, and he's been really good at these track types this year when he's not having issues. Did finish 26 at Kansas and 36 at Michigan, the back-to-back intermediate races we've had. But before that, second at Charlotte, third at Kansas, fourth at Las Vegas. He's going to be a top 5 contender. He's only $10,000. He's definitely has a chance to dominate this race as well. So I'm loving this price point in him on both sites, and I would definitely have a ton of exposure. And then finally, moving on to my number one play for the Autotrader EchoPark Automotive 500. That's a quite long title there. We have Christopher Bell, $10,300 on DraftKings, 12.5 over on FanDuel. He's a very similar play to Kyle Busch, and honestly, you could interswap these guys as being 1-2, but I like to go in order of pricing from bottom to top, so he just happens to be a little bit more expensive. But he's starting all the way back in 22nd, and he's basically the same play as Kyle Busch. They both have similar finishing position upside. Both these guys have similar dominator potential. Both guys didn't really impress you too much on Saturday in practice or qualifying, but you have to imagine they're going to bring a lot more speed during the race, and Bell's just been super consistent this season. Finishes of third at Kansas, fifth at Charlotte, fifth at Kansas again, 10th at Las Vegas. He's got top 5 potential, and honestly, I think he's a sneaky pick to be a championship contender this year. So, loving Christopher Bell. It feels weird at this price point, but as good as he's been, he definitely deserves it. And just to recap, at number 5, we have Brad Keselowski, number 4, Eric Jones, number 3, Alex Bowman, number 2, Kyle Busch, and number 1, Christopher Bell. Either of these guys have either been fast in practice over the course of the weekend, offer some place differential upside, or just been good at these track types this year. And if you did like some of the picks I talked about, consider going over to Prize Picks and betting on some of their overs for their fantasy points. Because as of right now, if you are a new signee over on the website, you can use promo code AWESEMO for a first match deposit bonus up to $100. You can also get a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum when you are a new member and sign up, and you'll receive your email within 24 to 48 hours to redeem your free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. But it's a great site to play on. They offer daily prop-based contests. You don't have to compete against any sharks, optimizers, or mass entries, and you can win up to 10 times your entry fee on 5-player lineups. So head over to prizepicks.com on the App Store and Google Play and sign up and get winning. And if you did enjoy today's free content, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already, and feel free to leave a comment down below telling me some of your favorite plays for this weekend's race. And unfortunately, no live stream, obviously, but if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I'll be more than happy to get back to you. But with that being said, I wish you all the best of luck, and I'm looking forward to the race.